We're joined now by Rodney Davis, the Republican candidate in the race for the 13th Congressional District in Illinois, and I'd like to start our conversation by getting your thoughts on the presidential debate between Republican candidate Mitt Romney and President Barack Obama.
I think it was a surprise to a lot of Americans that all pundits thought Mitt Romney won the debate pretty handily. I think it showed how much of an impact debates have right now, whereas in the past, I was even one of those who would say, oh, those debates don't matter. Everybody that's watching them has made up their mind. But I think you're starting to see, based upon the 24-hour news cycle, independent voters and those who may not have made up their mind, even a small percentage of voters can make a huge difference in a race like the presidential race. You look at some of the polling right now, and it looks as though Romney's been able to close the gap in some of those highly targeted states.
2 more debates are scheduled for the presidential race. Do you think the president will be able to bounce back, or do you think Romney will continue to carry the momentum forward nearing Election Day?
Well, I hope Romney carries the momentum forward until Election Day. But if you look at history, I think it usually bounces back and forth. You look at the John Kerry, George W. Bush debates where one was declared the winner, the next one it was another, and then it ends up, the third one usually ends up in a draw. But people then solidify where their preferences are, and they go make those votes on Election Day. I think if Romney continues down the pathway that he did in the first debate, he can easily keep these to a draw. The president has to change what he did. I mean, that performance was not the Barack Obama that people in Springfield know, and it's not the Barack Obama that I think we can expect the next 2.
And a big point of a contention during the debate, and even today as they release some jobs numbers, is the economy. But let's focus on the economy in Illinois. Going forward, what do you see the biggest changes in the economy needing to be for our state to bounce back?
Well, I think it's not just focused on Illinois. I think what we have to do is look at America as a whole. And what I've been talking to business owners about and what they have been telling me is that they need certainty. And the single most important thing I think Congress can do is to extend our current tax rates permanently. That'll allow the job creators in this country, the small businesses. They're the ones that I think all of us agree will be the backbone of any economic recovery. Let's allow them to understand what their tax bill is going to look like at the end of this year so they don't hit the fiscal cliff. And let's work to make sure they know what their health care costs are going to be, because when they do, they're going to invest in equipment, inventory, and then most importantly, they're going to invest in people. And that's how jobs are created in this country, and we'll start to see the economic boom that politicians keep talking about, but unfortunately keep hindering the progress of.
Okay.
And that will affect Illinois. Frankly, when you mention Illinois, just one thing. If the current tax rates expire, nationwide an estimated 700,000 jobs will be lost, and 30,000 plus right here in Illinois will be lost if that simple solution's not taken. And I blame Republicans and Democrats for this failure. And it's the polarization of politics in Washington right now that has to be stopped.
And I think a large percentage of people might say that there really needs to be a truly bipartisan Congress. Your thoughts on that?
Completely agree. We have to have people in Congress that are going to be leaders, regardless of what your party leaders tell you to do. I think if you look here in the Metro East area at the relationship that Jerry Costello and John Shimkus have had over their careers, they've worked in a very bipartisan way to address very important issues. Many different road projects around this area were pushed in a bipartisan way. The levee project. Recently, legislation was introduced by both Congressmen Shimkus and Costello to address some of the bureaucratic problems that the locals are having in trying to put that massive project into action. That's the type of bipartisanship that I think we don't get enough of in Washington, and Americans are sick of it. It's that polarization we just talked about. And the way to fix that is to send people like me to Congress that understand that in order to move the football downfield, to score some touchdowns, you actually have to work with people regardless of party. And when we do that and we put people in Washington that are willing to work with the other side, then you'll see the progress that we all think we should.
And you're running in the 13th district against Dr. David Gill. If you are elected, what are your big priorities that you hope to accomplish in office?
Well, first of all, I want to lead the charge to extend the current tax rates permanently. I think that's the single best thing we can do to spur the economic recovery that we all want and that we all talk about. That's essential, step number one. And I don't believe it'll be addressed before the end of the year. And it will be a devastating income tax increase on every single American on their first paycheck in January. Tax tables will revert back to '01 levels. I mean, immediately, middle-class families in all walks of life will see a decrease in the amount of money they take home. That's offensive, especially during an economic time like this. We can't raise taxes on anybody, let alone the middle class and those who need it the most. I want to attack the national debt. It's $16 trillion. It's just unsustainable. It's right now, in our first TV commercial that we put out, it showed me coaching my sixth grade junior football team, and I talked about how important the debt was to each and every one of these kids on my team. It's $50,000 per child. $50,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country right now, and it keeps going up every minute we talk about it. If you don't put America on a debt payment plan in Washington, then we will not be able to sustain what we in America enjoy the most. Mm-hmm. And then we have to repeal and replace Obamacare with a true market-based solution that still provides that health care safety net to those that are uninsured, underinsured, and underserved. Those are my three top priorities, along with passing a comprehensive farm bill where Republicans and Democrats have failed again.
Mm-hmm. And again, you're running against Dr. David Gill. What sets you apart from him? What makes you different than your opponent in this upcoming race?
I would argue that there's not a larger contrast between congressional candidates on the major issues of the day than between David Gill and me. Let's start with taxes. He said he would like all the current tax rates to expire, which again would give us the largest income tax increase in American history and cost America 700,000 jobs and 30,000 plus right here in Illinois. Spending. He says Washington doesn't have a spending problem. I'm speechless by anybody that thinks that. I believe Washington does have a spending problem, and instead of going in and making across-the-board cuts, we have to go in and reprioritize the way Washington spends money. And when we do that, we'll be able to attack the national debt, stop borrowing $3 billion a day just to pay the interest on the national debt, and begin to do the things that politicians all across America are campaigning and standing up saying they're going to do. And health care. I believe Obamacare is a step in the wrong direction. It will provide more government control through a 15-member board of unelected bureaucrats. And I think that's not the direction we need to go in the country. I'm for a market-based approach that's going to put the doctor-patient relationship first again. My opponent says Obamacare is okay, but Dr. Gill says it doesn't think it goes far enough. He wants a single-payer system and has been an advocate for a single-payer system that will cost $1.7 trillion a year and put every single doctor in America on the public payroll. That, to me, is not going to make our healthcare system more cost-effective, nor is it going to make it more efficient. And that's what scares me about the direction we're going in this country when it comes to the healthcare debate. And I want to be a leader in Washington to make sure that we actually get that doctor-patient relationship first.
And for our listeners and anyone out there who'd like to know more about your stance on the issues, your campaign, any information about you, where can they go to find out more about you?
Go to our website, www.electrodney.com. It's www.electrodney.com, and give us a call. Our phone number is 309-306-1318, and you can email me at rodney@electrodney.com.
All right. Well, Mr. Davis, I thank you very much for coming on this afternoon and taking a few minutes out of your busy day to stop by our station and talk to us today.
Hey, anytime. You just call and let me know, and we'll be back.